every athlete, every person, every human being has an opportunity. Some opportunities don't come when you want them. But if you're prepared, good opportunities can happen. Always be ready, because you never know when your number is gonna get called.
I'm not coming back.
EMI Apparel. Encourage me. I'm young.
Calvin T. Mann, leading EMI, served over 20,000 youth through speaking, coaching, and mentoring. He has inspired us for years. Welcome to EMIYTV Podcast with your host, Calvin T. Mann, the Encourager.
Good afternoon. We're in week 3. Yes. We're in week three. Okay, let's try to get it. Good afternoon and welcome to EMIYTV Put Your Family First podcast. I am your host with the co-hostesses in the building, Heather and Dave. My name is Dr. Calvin T. Mann. Soon, and very soon, it'll be 3 doctors behind this camera.
Woo-woo.
Praise God.
Right, and just to be clear and transparent, as they should say, today is about the ladies.
The lady.
Right. Just be my lady all night. Just be my lady. Right, so today is about the ladies. We're reviewing the highlight from connecting to your man. It was we left a lot of makeup on the floor in the room. Yeah.
A lot of tears.
No, they were really receptive and understanding and came away with some tools. From the financial to the relationship to, I even learned something. You know what I mean? Like it was really, really nice.
Nice.
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah, it was really
we can
nice.
Do a little bit more descriptive than just.
I know.
Nice.
Y'all sensitive. So nice. I thought nice was a term that goes along with women.
Oh.
When you say, "Oh, you look nice," they're like, "Oh, thank you." So when you use the term nice, I'm thinking that's right up.
No, you need more description.
Very nice. It was very nice.
That color choice because it brings out the natural blush in your cheeks.
There we
That's
go.
a better compliment than nice.
No, you never gonna hear me say that.
Okay, so that is
Because that was the conversation.
That is a point of
I
education.
had
Nice
that
has
conversation.
no weight to it. Nice is
nice.
It's empty. Nice is empty.
Nice is beautiful.
You're such a nice person. That's very empty.
Nice is beautiful.
If you said your courage and how you encourage others really inspires
Nice
me.
is beautiful.
That's a compliment. Would you agree, Monique? Yes. Right.
Of course she was gonna agree.
Right, because that's,
I am woman, hear me roar. She was gonna stand by you.
Remember our
She
conversation
wasn't gonna say
about
no.
expectations.
She wasn't gonna say no.
True.
Nice ain't, because Monique, when I said nice, Monique was like, yeah. She was just going along with you.
No, if you had a choice, if you had a choice to receive a compliment, it would have to have something that feels and anchors the compliment.
Okay.
Nice is very broad and it doesn't really anchor a compliment.
Amen. Praise the Lord. You right.
And so, the opening to the conversations that we had on Saturday,
I was
which
told
we were
to say,
talking about the deeper meaning.
You're right.
The deeper meaning, so that people can start to unpack their own expectations. So that's part of that conversation, why nice is just not a real compliment.
Okay.
When you can put more substance behind it.
Okay. In the news today. All right. The Lions won yesterday, 52 to I think 3 or 6, something. I got on my Barry Sanders because I haven't bought my Mahomes jersey yet. I'm trying to get them to give me a Mahomes signed jersey. I'm working on that, right? Right? Because, my Chiefs can run into the Lions. And,
Yeah, I'm like, what are you going to do? They going to do some bugs.
I'm going to enjoy the scenario. Either way I go, I win. Either way I go, I win. The Lions win is about time. The whole graveyard, everybody gonna get up and do the Thriller, like Michael Jackson. All the cemeteries in Detroit, they gonna just break out and start doing the Thriller. Right, the Lions won the Super Bowl. They were like, look at the cemeteries. Dudes gonna be coming out with they love. Ripped Lions jerseys on.
Oh my God.
Doing their Michael Jackson thing. The Lions won. Oh my God. Bobby Lang with a 5th. They did it. You know what I mean? But that was
issues.
That was real important. All right. So they're 9-1. And before we get into this conversation, Miss Heather, how are you?
Oh, I'm doing really good today. I feel really productive, and I feel good. I'm going into a session with some mothers and grandmothers this evening, talking about how we take care of ourselves, how we use resources, and then how we help get out of the way of our boys so that we can help them to become the men that they're meant to be.
Oh, okay. That's awesome. Mm-hmm. So someone just asked, what was our topic for today? And I said... women.
Okay, and so that's not true. We're talking about co-pilot,
and
passenger.
We're not giving away all my juice. Co-pilot,
passenger, and expectations.
Yes. And women's expectation.
Certainly. Right.
I'm sure I am.
There's some advice for you, Calvin.
Yeah, split jersey. That's right, Terrence. Right. That's what I'm talking about, brother. That's what I'm talking about. Wearing the jersey.
That's funny. And no doubt you will find one or create one.
Yeah, we're going to get that if that's the case. So, let's get right into it. Dave, how was your day, your week? Thanks a lot, Brother Terrence.
It's been pretty good. I just moving forward and enjoying this humor this evening.
Oh, well, you know I'm all about the laughs.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's get right into it, Miss Heather. You want to give your highlight of your nice event? Okay, we had the most incredible event.
Insightful.
Hello.
Hey, Dr. Ratanji. Glad you're listening in.
Let's go.
We missed you on Saturday.
Yeah, she didn't know about it. Let's go. Let's get into it. Talk to me.
Okay, so some of the highlights in our monthly seminars. There are 3 highlights. There are 3 subjects that we always go deeper into. The first one is the personal, how we see ourselves in our personal spaces, how we look at the deeper meanings in who we are, who we're becoming, and who we want to be. And then we look into the financial aspects of who we are. We look at how our finances influence, in this particular case, our relationships. And I tell you, it was so deep. And Crystal L. Gunn, who is our financial strategist, talked about financial infidelity. And she broke down what that meant.
Oh, yeah.
And she gave us an assessment, and how once we took that assessment and really started to uncover some things, it was very revealing about how you cheat in your finances when you're in a relationship. So That was really great. And then I covered the component of intimacy, and we talked about arousal types. We talked about where that came from. We talked about what turns you on. We talked about
what turns you on.
how you see yourself. So another area that was really, we talked about the 5 love languages and how all of these things interconnect with us in our level of intimacy.
And to be clear, the 5 love languages is not roll your eyes, toss your head, boy, bye. Those are not love languages. But go ahead.
And so that really, and understanding where our expectations come from and how we don't often communicate those expectations, but they're so packed in our past history that we don't even realize that we placed expectations on someone because we never communicated what we wanted to them and why it's important to us, and we don't explore why we have that as an expectation. Not often. So this is part of the self-work that is really necessary for women to do. We have to start unpacking our expectations so you know what the origin is, and then you know how to grow those expectations up from our childhood when they were actually, or where they originated, and mature that idea into adulthood so that you can actually communicate it.
Oh, so that was your 3?
Yeah, those are the 3 things that we cover in our monthly seminars. And depending on the topic, like this topic was connecting to your man. And so that was how these 3 areas of our lives as women affect our relationships with men. So what's the top 3 things needed from the pilot and co-pilot? Ooh, yeah. So I will say that Calvin actually delivered the descriptions of what a co-pilot was versus a passenger, and it was very awakening for the women that were present to hear that conversation. You want to talk about the co-pilot, Calvin?
Dave, it was very awakening.
Okay, well, good.
And revealing.
Sleeping bear up. Huh?
It was nice.
Yeah. Okay. It was nice.
It was nice.
Very good.
No.
So the object really was to. Here's the thing that was beautiful for me, right? That made this whole conversation work. All the women were natural. There was no eyelashes, every woman in the room was in her own space. She didn't come with no pretense. She didn't have no make. She wasn't masking. So she was genuine in asking, right, in this conversation and participating in this conversation. And so one of the things as a co-pilot, so Terrence, as you know, a pilot, right, is supposed to already understand the plane. Pilot is supposed to know that the plane, how it functions, forwards and backwards, everything on the plane, the pilot is supposed to know. The co-pilot, in turn, is supposed to know the plane. But in case something is wrong, the co-pilot is supposed to send you through a checklist to help you manage the plane, because you might forget in the midst of a storm. The first sign of a turbulence, the passenger always pulls the parachute. Always. And a lot of times what we have done in the conversation that I was sharing was a lot of times you've created your own parachute. Right? So there are things that you do during the process, and here are some things that you need to know the difference in being a co-pilot and a passenger, because a lot of us just do not understand what it's like to be a co-pilot. We get into this position and we walk in already with the parachute on. And you've never seen a pilot or a co-pilot get on the airplane with a parachute. They always tell you, use the seat cushion. The mask gonna drop down. Put it on yourself first. The stewardess comes through. What would you like to eat? So you're always catered to as the passenger. But in that up front of that plane, in that home, is the pilot, the cockpit. Of course, a pervert would love that one. Right? So up in the cockpit, right, where the meat is, right?
Well,
on the pilot, right? right? That's why it's called the cockpit, since we go on there, because of the pilot. And so the co-pilot knows everything in the cockpit or the plane, right? And a lot of people, a lot of men and women do not understand how to navigate the storm. And usually a co-pilot has a certain amount of tools, whereas the passenger don't. The passenger is only looking for the good time. I'm gonna get on, I'm gonna get off at my destination, and I'm gonna go have me some fun. What can you offer me? If you're in first class as a passenger, you get free drinks. If you're in the back, you gotta pay for it. Either way it goes. We can call it 50-50 or whatever the case may be. You're not up in the front of that plane flying with that pilot. And that's where a lot of women have placed themselves as passengers. A passenger looks around the bed and looks and sees everything that's taking place inside the plane. So she's distracted about everything that's going on the plane. But that pilot got to keep their eyes and the co-pilot forward on what's in front of them. So in case of turbulence, you know, as Prince would say, you can use the seat cushion, because he was talking to the passenger. The co-pilot, they're handling the turbulence. And so we kind of got into that. We kind of got into the masking. I didn't really go in depth about the masking because I know a lot of women don't understand that they're literally taught. And, you know, Heather, she covered some great areas. She went back to 1940 when Moses was shooting dice with Jesus in the first movie, right? She pulled up the first movie and everybody was in the room like, what? Right? So
slightly generational.
Very generational. But it was impactful. But when she went to when they both finished, for me, it was how it all lined up. Because a lot of people may have missed. Well, they was probably wondering, why is this man in here? Right? Because I'm the man. Right? I'm the only man in the space. Right? But it says on there, connecting to men. I heard the one lady come in the back. She said, I'm here to connect to a man. So that she came in and sat down. She said, well, you might want to move up here, right?
Well, all right.
You know, but it really was an important, and we're probably gonna do another one. I was talking about doing some webinars for some, because women, when they hear it, like you see these shows and these people they're keeping people single. Right? They're solving some of the trauma. They're just having conversation. People are feeling good about their issues and the problems, and it's only growing them. See, it's a known fact. Psychologically, you're a doctor. You've been through psychologically, the more you harp on the problems, the more you create it. Right? The more you lag onto your stress, your traumas, and things like that, the more you build it. And it's hard for you to escape.
I just want to add just a point of clarification, Calvin. As you were talking about the plane, as you shared in the seminar, represents the relationship. And that was why it was important that the pilot and the co-pilot are steering the plane together, because they work together for that relationship. Yeah. And why the passenger was in the back and had options to jump off the plane whenever they wanted to at whatever destination, instead of staying in like the co-pilot. And one of the things I liked about how you talked about the co-pilot versus the passenger was the way they talked to each other, the way each one of them would talk to the pilot. You talked about a passenger makes demands like, where's that free drink, right? Versus the co-pilot might say, I'm going to go get something to drink, I'm going to bring you something too. It's a different conversation.
It's different.
From the co-pilot would have with the pilot versus the passenger. And one of the more keen points that you made the distinction between the co-pilot and the passenger, you talked about the parachute. You talked to him about the parachute, saying that, in the event there is a stressful event, and the plane, or it seems that the plane, being the relationship, may be evacuated because they're going through a trauma. The co-pilot and the pilot are the last to go. The passenger is the first off.
every time.
Yeah, and so that means when relationships get, like you talked about turbulence, when relationships get difficult, do you stick and stay or do you walk away? And the difference between the co-pilot and the pilot is trying to, or knowing the relationship, the ship, the plane, well enough to know what is it that's going wrong. The co-pilot is going to study the plane, going to study the relationship, so you know how to predict that certain things may come up and how you intervene on those things before they become a real problem.
Yeah.
So just like in relationships. So like right now, I think Monique got us all in the room with the number of years she's been married. How long you been married?
I have been married 24.
So she had 24 years. So
yes.
Monique is what you would call a co-pilot, right?
Oh yeah, seasoned.
Right, she is a co-pilot. Right,
Yeah,
right,
she know what buttons to push, and she know what buttons and strings to pull.
Right, that's why she an engineer here.
Yeah.
So, right. So, also, I wanted to talk about this financial infidelity. I wish Crystal Gunn, if you're here in earshot, Crystal Gunn, if you could call in, that would be awesome to talk more about the financial infidelity, because that was a really, like I said, that was a real awakening about how she started off talking about how we saw infidelity, right, in relationship. And then when she shifted that and said, now look at it through the lens of your finances. And she pointed out how sometimes you may make purchases. Say you're in a relationship and you may make purchases, right? And you're hiding those bags. That's a part of financial infidelity. Why do you feel you have to hide the things that you purchased? Is it because it was outside of what you had discussed? She also talked about financial infidelity in terms of the making purchases, major purchases, or purchase decisions without consulting or having the conversation with your mate. And how again, that's another form of financial infidelity, that you would go and make a major purchase. Maybe you decided you wanted to get what's those RTVs? Is that right? RTVs or motorcycles?
ATV.
Oh, ATV. Okay. All-terrain vehicle. Okay, right. So if you decide to get those, or maybe you decided to buy season tickets to a football game, right? And that wasn't a purchase that you had discussed as a couple. So, and she also talked about in dating. So those of you who are seeking healthier relationships, what are the conversations that you're having when you're dating? Are you offering, and it was an example among the women that were speaking, that one of the ways that she and the guy that she's dating connect is that he may pay for the meal and she may pay for the parking, or and she called that being having his what she call it, being backup.
Having his back.
She said that's the backup. That's the backup, and so
showing him that she had his back.
Right, and so it was just really important perspectives that were shared, and how, as co-pilots, if you want to be a co-pilot or a passenger, to make that decision first, and then as you're moving into that dating world or moving deeper into your marriage, because it's still movement, whether you're married or you're single or you're recovering from relationship hurts, right? You have to start at some point to begin the process of growth and healing and development. And the other conversation that I was having in terms of how we start to unfold our intimacy, again, as you're talking about my backstory, I was sharing that I knew exactly where the idea of a man bringing you flowers came from in my life. And I went back to Monique. Now, I'm going to see if you remember this. Do you remember?
Monique ain't going to know. Dave going to know before Monique.
Dave might know too. But anyway, it was a program that came on in the early 70s called Rita Bell. And Rita Bell came on every morning, Monday through Friday.
See, Dave don't even know.
And she used to show like romantic movies, Doris Day movies, all those kind of. It came on at 9 o'clock.
Was she a brunette?
Yeah.
I remember now.
Yeah, she came on at her
You
the
said the
background looked like she was in this
Yeah.
little booth, and it was powder blue. I remember this very clearly, but that's where all of the romantic movies were shown. And so, but in every romantic movie, the man always bought her flowers. And so at 5, in my mind, it planted that seed. So I was always expecting to see flowers. When I was dating, I expected flowers.
So 40 years from now, there's gonna be somebody on the podcast talking about, you remember that video game with a girl on and the lady, she was strapped and she was carrying in the buggy and the car came by and hit her? You don't remember that?
Right. No.
Same conditioning. I set you in front of the TV for Rita Bell.
No.
Who else was back there during that time? The Ghoul.
Oh, Sir Greg Gas.
Bill Kennedy.
Bill Kennedy.
Bill Kennedy present.
Bill Kennedy.
Yeah.
Bill
Sir
Kennedy,
Ghastly.
Bill Kennedy with the Channel 7, all the Elvis movies.
Right.
But exactly, but early in our lives, certain ideas were planted that are now, as an adult, expectations. I had to unpack why flowers were such a big deal and why I would react if I didn't get flowers. And so that was from me. I never grew up that idea from a child at 5, a girl at 5, were these romantic expectations, because I was watching those romantic movies. So those romantic expectations were set in my mind at that time. I never questioned as I became an adult. I had to, as an adult, unpack. So why am I getting mad that he doesn't know how important flowers are to me because I saw that when I was 5?
Because Ken only pulled up in the Corvette.
Exactly.
Ken pulled up in the Corvette. Ken never got no booty.
No, that's not true.
No, Ken ain't never get no booty.
So don't
They can't
be
get
technical, because
Ken
Ken didn't
never-
have no equipment either.
Neither did Barbie.
No, Barbie did.
No, both of them, it just was dials. That's it. They was just dials.
We had
But the
dials.
point,
Dude.
Ken was supposed to
You
pull
didn't
up.
play with dolls, so how you know what she
Ken's
did?
supposed to pull up in the car. Right?
And
Ken
he-
pulled up in the car, and
her
Barbie gets into
penthouse.
Ken's sweet car, right?
He pulls up to Barbie's penthouse.
Today, you pull up in a sweet car, she gets in the car still today, and you can get them draws. Just from the car.
Oh, that's true.
Got it.
But understand, the point is that those seeds were planted in our childhood.
Right. And Barbie
But they
never
were
got married.
But they were never matured. We never
Yeah.
went back to unpack why that is a big deal. Why is a car an influence?
Yeah.
Because, okay, if you had, and if you're in the generation that had Barbie and Barbie's penthouse and her clothes, right? Barbie had lots and lots of clothes. Ken had some, but he didn't have a lot of them.
No,
But
they
Ken only came to visit until they had the family. It was at one point they had Barbie and Ken got married because she had a wedding dress and they had a baby.
Really, I ain't seen the
Oh
baby.
yeah, they had a baby.
You're going to have to find that one.
No, they had a baby.
I had cousins and sisters and
Yeah, we know
aunties. And
those things.
I ain't seen a baby with Barbie ever.
But then there was
We can
Baby
Google
Alive.
that. Somebody out there look up if Barbie had a baby.
She did.
I'm telling you,
And
Barbie
Baby
been
Alive.
single.
No, it was
Well,
by
she did
Barbie
get married.
Alive.
They
She
did
got married?
She got married.
Who did she marry?
Ken.
Really? And then what happened?
Well, I don't know. I ain't following like
They was
that.
divorced the same day.
I mean, I remember the little commercials.
Yeah, when they
and
was talking about they was
stuff,
gonna get
marketing.
married. I remember the commercials.
Yeah.
But I ain't seen no remnants.
Yeah.
So, Calvin, as a male, you guys had the Army Men,
Right.
G.I. Joe,
Yeah.
right? Rough and tough, right? Rough and tough.
Yeah.
But that was also in the same way that we were imprinted.
We built.
We were
Lego.
imprinted as girls.
Yeah.
Our boys were also imprinted.
But here's the thing, and I'm just going to go political for a minute. Just a itty bitty minute, right? When I said Ronald Reagan was a criminal, right? Mm-hmm. Everybody say you can't say that, right? Mm-hmm. So as we're unpacking, right? college education, money, how the money raised on college, right? So when it came time to the situations, family was being squoze out, right? So when I say I don't see Barbie and Ken, I never saw it beyond that, because they begin to squeeze out families. Mm-hmm. Just think about the Dows. After Ken and Dow, what were they? They was always together as girls. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. There was never no more who's getting married. There was no more. They started squeezing the pressure out, creating this dynamic. And the guy was always at work, or he had to build. And so then they started squeezing that out. All right? Mm-hmm. Now where was he at? Where'd he go? Then they started squeezing out. Okay, but that's it. Somebody said financial infidelity is such a unique perspective in their relationships, right? In a marital relationship, but we must get taught these things as... Yeah. But we must, as black people, before relationships start, we often start with the lust, then become a relationship. Ken got muscles. He don't need no money. I know that's right, Terrence.
But all that, he brings up a key point. All that is about conditioning. And Brian Allen, media guru, said that he who controls the media controls the world. So when you go back to the period of, you talk about with Rita and all these different programs, they cater to the needs of the people. This is marketing, branding, as they would call it today.
Right.
And so when you had the romantic movies, they set this all up. So they defined what romance was, and you bought into it. They defined what masculinity was. You bought into it.
Absolutely.
All these are conditionings that they set us up for. And fast forward, now we have a new way of seeing men and seeing women. See, because they're conditioners. And if you watch right through the generations, or let's just say the decades, you see the changes always manifesting. So it's unfortunate. I do want to address that pilot, co-pilot, and passenger. One of the things that as I'm listening to y'all talk, is that each one of these roles, there's a conditioning to that. There's a training to that. The pilot's trained a certain way, the co-pilot's trained a certain way, and also subliminally, we've been trained as passengers a certain way. So if you think about it, why would I come on the plane thinking I got to act like the co-pilot? That's not my role. Mm-hmm. Why would I think on that level if I'm the pilot? Why would I think as a passenger? It's not my role. So we've been conditioned to fall into these different roles. So yeah, if I'm just hanging out having a good time, as a passenger, why would I be thinking about being a co-pilot?
Right.
You know. Mm-hmm. So, I think as the gentleman said, we have to be taught these things. I don't necessarily know if it's just racial, because my life has allowed me to see that the dynamics of relationships, no matter what the culture, race is, it's the same. Same problem, same issues, just different environment, different people, but it's the same.
Mm. Well, and so the point I made was how women come into relationships.
Right.
What is your skill set? Experience in life. Hey, Dr. Sabrina, experience in life is your teacher. It's one of your teachers.
That's true.
Right? So if I've bumped my head in a relationship, I should have learned. But to come into a marriage, not an arranged marriage, seasonal, right? We're seasoned. How are we coming into these relationships? And it's important, because that's why the terminology was set that way, Dave. Because a co-pilot and a pilot gets off the plane at the same time. Me working at the airport for 11 years, I watched all of that. Right, I've seen it back and forth. The stewardess, they get off the plane. They have a whole nother environment as flight attendants and stewards, and then us as the passengers, right? And that's a huge dynamic on the play of life, and that's why I chose
Oh, I think it's a great illustration, and the points are well taken. You know.
Yeah, and it's for everybody, you know, and I'm sure that they felt, you know, it was kind of tough in the room because I went into a number of things. Mm-hmm. One of the things I think we ignored that I talked about was Numbers 30. In all your years of counseling, going to be married, they never talked about Numbers 30. And Numbers 30 is where the vow sits. Mm-hmm. The vow is sitting directly in Numbers 30, the entire verse. Mm-hmm. And it's never been brought up. I've never heard nobody bring it up, right? And if I was counseling someone to get married, I'm taking them there immediately. Why? Because I never understood the power of the vow. We don't understand the power of the vow. We love the idea. We're marketed, like you said. We brand the hell out of a marriage. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's, you know, we're arguing about it. What kind of ring? Mm-hmm. If it should be a band or if it's 2 carats. Every kiss begins with K, mm-hmm. right? and we're having this discussion. But I want a mate. I want someone that I can laugh with. And that's what we're not doing. We're not truly enjoying, because we come into these relationships with the idea of 100. And we're not truly enjoying getting to know the person. What can I affect in the person? And then once I get to know this person, how can I grow with this person and we grow together? There is going to be some things that we don't like. Mm-hmm. Doesn't mean that we throw this whole relationship away. And a lot of times that's what we come in is the first sign I like, that's strike 1. Second time it's something I don't like, that's strike 2. Third time I don't like something that's strike 3. Now you're outside of your home. Mm-hmm. Because you put all these expectations in place. Mm-hmm. Well, if he gonna be in my life, right? Or if she gonna be in my life, she has expectations. She doesn't even know you. So you ain't gonna give her time to get to know you, to learn you, to how to function in your life. And he didn't have a time in that process. But one of the most dynamic things that took place mm-hmm. is I was asked, how do I take back a man that cheated? Woo! Woo! Hey, bro. Beautiful wife. Miss D, listen. When that question was asked, I felt all the eyes in the room literally zero in at 100 degrees.
And what did you say, Calvin Man, Dr. Man?
I don't know if I want to give that away on the podcast. I'm almost certain.
Put your family first.
You got to put your family first. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you do. Sometimes we evaluate cheating from the wrong lens. Even if it's, were you a contributor? How did you contribute to this man walking out? Man, in some cases, he's just a cheater. This is what he is.
But that's a conditioning, too.
That's a conditioning, too. And it's in his DNA.
Man, yeah. Mm.
Yeah, epigenetics is real. I'm still diving into that. I was diving mm-hmm, into it again the other day. Mm-hmm. It's very, very real, mm-hmm, right? Mm-hmm. And I experienced my father's mm-hmm. hunger and hunting style. Mm-hmm. All my brothers were hunters. Mm-hmm. We ain't never had a problem getting a woman, mm-hmm. right? And that was clear. I was making that clear. But to settle into a marriage is a different mindset.
But do people really sit down and discuss the real deeper level of marriage? Most, as you said earlier, most of it is very superficial. It's more about entertainment. And a part of the vow is say for better, for worse. Well, everything's good when everything's good, right? Mm-hmm. The real commitment or the value is like faith. Faith is irrelevant if ain't nothing going on that's going to cause you to activate faith. Right. So the real test of your marriage is when things go wrong. Yeah. And it's not defined by whether you cheat, whether you're infidelity in finances. Those are all activities. But what's the deeper meaning? What's really going on? A cheater, if you will, what's going inside that person? So you got to know what's inside that person and why they do what they do.
Yeah.
And if they haven't developed first, the person has developed themselves inside out, self-awareness.
Yeah.
And I'm counseling a guy now to say he ain't never been faithful. And I said, well, that's because something inside you hasn't learned to help you to understand what faithfulness is to yourself.
Right.
Because when you cheat on yourself.
Right.
When you lie on yourself because you're distorting the truth of what it should be about.
Oh, yeah. You know how I feel about that.
So it's sad when you see that, and we look at all the external factors that stimulate. Well, I cheated because she didn't do this. I cheated because he didn't do that. Well, those just rationalities you use to get as excuses to not be responsible.
Yeah, because you didn't meet my expectations.
Right.
And in that process as well, why Terrence asked, why did he cheat? Well, there are a number of reasons why men cheat. There are a number of reasons why women cheat. My point to the room was we are so accustomed to always citing that the man cheated, even if the man didn't cheat. It's the easiest way out. You can go tell 100 of your girlfriends, he didn't cheat. But you can go tell 100 of them, he cheated. And you will have everybody in arms helping you. Knowing you're not the father. You cheated. You stepped out. This was just a reason for you to feel good about yourself. Another lie that you told your spirit. Then it's vice versa. So, but as we were talking, my point in the room was cheating is a human sport. It's not all men.
That's true.
And they can argue till the sun come up. I know for a fact it's not all men.
It's right. It has no boundary for gender.
That's right.
No, because the reality of it is that, now I'm just going to be point blank. I remember I used to say this. I said, well, you will say the man cheated, but before we got really out where we are today, the average man was not cheating with a man. So that means he participated with a woman. Now, all women were not deceived from who they were dealing with. We see that all day long, right on the news, with politicians, for example. You knew he was married when you got with him. So it's a engagement of two people. You cannot put the responsibility on one gender because in most cases, because I'm just going to be blunt. With all the LBG, those alphabets, in most cases, that's a whole different arena in itself, and that's a small percentage. So that means that heterosexuals are engaging. That means that heterosexuals are cheating together.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
not one gender or the other, and we're quick to pass it on one side.
Oh, yeah.
So, and so what I offer, because, we always talk about what are the solutions. So we know what the problems are. We live and relive the problems. What are the things that we can do, right? One of the things that I recommend is when you find yourself in an encounter and you find yourself in a situation like that, the question is, where did it come from? For me. So we have to look inner, in our inner being and in our past history. I call it our backstory. And so, like I mentioned the example with the flowers, I know where that came from. I know why that's an expectation, because in all of the movies, all of the men did the same thing. They bought flowers. If they were trying to apologize to their wives or women, they bought flowers. And so it was a necessity in my journey until I started to unpack my why and why I would get mad when I didn't get them, right? Why was I mad? So if we start looking at our why and we look back into where it comes from, that's part of our own intimate development and growth. You need to know what turns you on and turns you off, but you need to know where that came from. And so one of the important parts of my session that we talked about intimacy was the first thing we did was look at ourselves. I gave everybody a self-assessment. It's 67 questions in this assessment. It's everything from what you like about yourself to what your parents showed you about sex and ideas about sex and sexuality, because that is an influence on your why. It's important that you look at yourself, and these questions help you to lift up where certain ideas come from. So now when you go back and you look at, well, in my relationships, I always pick the same type of man, and the same type of man does the same type of thing. Where do you think that comes from? It's not the man. It's the man showing you and what you need to explore, where you need to heal, where you need to grow. That's why the same situation or circumstance is repeating. That's why you feel so hurt, because pain is a motivator. It's to get you to look at what's causing me pain. It's the same thing in our bodies. If your back is continually hurting, you need to make sure that you're looking at, what am I doing? What type of stress am I putting on my back? Do I have stressors on my back? Is it my thought? Is it too much work? Is it too much pressure that I'm carrying? Like, really look into those areas to find out your why. Look into that pain. Not just say that I got to put something, I need medication to medicate the pain, but why is the pain happening? What is it showing you? And I think once we start to do that more, then we start to heal in some of those spaces, and we can move forward in a healthier relationship.
Well, you always say, and you guys we talk about this consistently, about new information and how the brain craves new information. And one of the things that the financial infidelity piece, and bringing all three of those, bringing it to the point, financial infidelity is only the beginning of the cheating. It is a teaching tool. When we say we got to go shopping and don't tell nobody, we're practicing the skill, right, of dishonesty. Like, I come to the closet and there are 6 boxes in the closet, and you right away go into you're already practicing infidelity. When she brought that financial,
Amazon. It doesn't count when it's Amazon.
It counts. It's Amazon. It flat out counts.
It doesn't count when it's Amazon.
It counts, and we're not getting ready to put out that. And so, people will say, well, what you don't know don't hurt you. Well, that's not really true.
No.
That's not really true. In fact, what you don't know can impact you. And so, looking at it from that lens, I was saying that if you're paying attention to the lessons that was handed in the room, the financial infidelity teaches you to be infidelity, and it forces you, because you do that, it forces you to look at everything and devalue what is in your possession. Mm-hmm. So you devalue the man that is in your possession because you're looking at that. Mm-hmm. Because it's shopper's remorse. Mm-hmm. Look what I got. Look what they got. Mm-hmm. So that takes us back to Ken. Ken pulls up in the Corvette. Well, Cal pulls up in the Honda Civic. Well, Cal got a Honda Civic. Man. Ken pull up in the Corvette. I'm going with Ken. So you automatically setting yourself up for the failure. Oh, he drives this and he drives that. And we really believe that all of these things becomes who we are. And it's just a tool to attract who we are. Mm-hmm. That's all it is. Hey, girl. I pull up. Hey, you remember back in the day, you pull up on them, right? Mm-hmm. You pull up on them and blow the horn. Boom. Hey, you need a ride, baby? She'll get right in. She'll get right in the car. Because it's a nice car. Mm-hmm. Or she need a ride. And once she gets in the car, what's on the table? Mm-hmm. Right? So, caller, you're on the air.
Hey there, it is Crystal Gunn.
Oh, there she is.
Right.
Hey, Crystal.
What's happening?
We were talking about financial infidelity. Mm-hmm. and the jewels that you were dropping about, how it shows up in your life in different areas and in your relationships.
So, and people don't think about it as infidelity, right? But if you're walking in the house and got to hide packages from your mate because you went and spent this money, that's infidelity, right? If you're going out and you're getting new debt, whether it's your debt or not, if you're in a partnership, you add more debt to this household without talking about it. Infidelity, right? And so it's so many things, and people just don't look at it that way. Or if you go into a relationship and let's say now you're getting married and you all haven't discussed these things, you know, well, I don't know how much debt this person that I'm about to marry is, and you don't bring it up, come on. That's trouble that's brewing before you even get started. So yeah, we have to start looking at those things too.
Because of the very destructive nature.
Absolutely.
You know, and so when you highlight that before you go, because I know you're busy, drop your 3 things that black people should be focused on right now.
Okay. Healing, right? And healing of their finances. You know, I lead with finances, so I would say that first.
Yep, that's automatic.
And as you redefine that personal financial relationship, it automatically heals every other area of your life because all of that mess is showing up in all of those other areas. So finances, we got to heal our finances. We have to heal our bodies and our minds. You can't even function right and figure out how to get your finances together if your mind and your body is full of sugar and chemicals. And then we need to heal our relationships. Because, like, there was just an article that talked about African Americans specifically at the bottom of that median income level of all other races. Well, part of that is because we got a whole bunch of single households.
Come on.
So I always think about when my ex-husband and I got divorced. Our daughter was 4, but we went from this combined income of X, right, to then now this income is split between 2 households.
Come on.
That's how we wind up at the bottom of that. You know what I mean? That's how we wind up at the bottom of that medium income level.
Two
so
different.
We got to heal that too.
I call it 2 different economies. I did a whole thing on it.
Absolutely.
It's her economy and his economy. And because the economies are apart, they put you in one singular position.
Yep.
And that one singular position just to function in this society.
Yep.
Right? The society, the country for which we live in. I split you into 2 and I eat off your children.
And I eat off your children. And I understand that everybody, for whatever reason, cannot stay together.
Right.
But even if you cannot stay together, you need to heal the relationship so that you can work together. So those finances don't wind up being an issue that you pass on to your children.
Hey.
There we go. Encoded on the DNA.
Encoded
on the DNA. And we don't recognize that enough to change that dynamic. We have to change that dynamic. So those of you who are out there listening, understand that the choices and decisions that you make today affect your children and your grandchildren. So if you don't work to do healing, you think that you're off the hook. You're not. You're just passing that on to the next generation to deal with. We call those things generational curses, but we look at it in things of like our habits and behaviors. But this is even deeper. This is even deeper. So we have to be mindful that as we are going through and doing this self-work, we think it's not impacting anybody else. It's impacting everybody else.
Everybody else.
It's impacting your ecosystem, but more importantly, it's impacting your DNA and that is of you. They're experiencing the same thing. It's the sins of the mother and the father, but it's also the grandmother and the grandfather. Their story is our story too. That's why we have to know, and we also have to heal. So thank you for that, Crystal.
Thank you.
You are most welcome. I will talk to you guys later.
Yeah.
All right, bye.
It's the only thing that reciprocates are the poor results.
Well, the other area when we talked about intimacy, and because a lot of people are more familiar with the 5 love languages, I think it's important that when you look at yourself in a relationship, that you know the order of your love language. And
yeah, that's huge.
Of the 5, like, what's your priority order? And understand that it may change between relationships. It may change between experiences, so be prepared to allow yourself that change. You are growing and changing, so those things that may impact you or influence what's important in your relationship and how you are connected to that person that you're dating, the person that you're married to, or the person or the relationship that you have left. Have your roles now changed? So let me just go over them really quickly because I know we're running out of time.
Yeah. You had.
Okay. So the 5 love languages. One is gifts. One is acts of service. Another one is affection. Another one is quality time. And then the 5th one is gifts, quality time.
Sex.
That's affection. Thank you. Affirmations. Thank you. Affirmations. That's the 5th one.
So somewhere in there it'll blend in.
It would fall under affection or quality time.
Yeah.
Right.
Run that.
So know what those are and know how you receive them and also how you give them. It's important to know both ways so you know in your relationships what you need and you can communicate that. And that's a tool that you can use to communicate what you need in your relationship to your partner.
Tell us where they can connect with you at since you got the mic.
You can find me and connect with me at yourinspiredjourney.com. That's yourinspiredjourney.com. Or you can reach me directly by phone at 313-759-7855. Please call me directly and don't DM me. Thank you.
Brother Dave.
You can reach me at David FMAM 4 Men About Men Patterns on Facebook, or you can reach me at drome7@yahoo.com.
You can reach me at calvintman.com. www.calvintman.com. This was a good highlight. Before we chime out, Terrence left another message. Said the beauty about intimacy, you must have spiritual connection with the other person to pull it off. It requires time to learn that person's hot spots because everyone can't get you aroused in the same way. So if you come across someone who's not your husband or wife, but they connect on that personal level, and if you come across this person, stay away because everyone desires different things. It's an important piece to understand that that's what is out there for us as men. It's out there for women as well. Men, they gawk, look the whole nine, but for us men, as soon as we have a connection, a verbal connection, that's one of the ways to stimulate a man is his conversation will draw him, and you have to be careful. And that's a very knowing thing. If I just talk to him and get him at ease, and it's a big deal. So thank you, Terrence, for that. I really want to say it was a great event. The thing that you were just talking about, the arousals, that's what should be part of, in my opinion, your next How to Get Your Man seminar, your online seminar. That's really huge because I even learned during that process some information that I didn't know. You know, I try to know a lot of stuff, you know. But with that being said, hey, this was an awesome day. We had an awesome time, awesome information. Thank you for calling in, Crystal. Our podcast is growing. Recently we checked in, had over 1 million views of our videos and everything. So we're stepping up how we market Put Your Family First podcast. We of course, you know, we got the song Put Your Family First, so we're gonna step it up in marketing and bring in some new stuff, and y'all get ready. We got some new guests coming on in the future, and I'm hoping that you'll begin to follow us and support us and support our work as we continue to do this work. With that being said, this has been Put Your Family First podcast. My name is Dr. Calvin T. Mann. God bless you and encourage me. I'm young. Peace.